And
hey, man, it's Dukes and Bell. We are back today. Joe's Sports Grill, man. We're going to be on Jones Bridge today, hanging out starting at 2 o'clock. Come on through up there in Alpharetta. So if you're in that area, stop by. We'd love to get a chance to see you and meet you, Mike. And great food, great drink at Joe's. It's a great spot. And first time we've been up that way, man.
Right. So Alpharettans and John Creekins or John Creekers, if you live up in that neck of the woods, we're up by St. Marlowe. Come on down, man. As Carl said, yeah, not the last time. It's been about I'm thinking 10 years since we've been in that zip code. So join the party and we'll talk Falcons, talk all the big storylines from this weekend, which we're doing right now on Behind the Curtain.
All right, guys. We are going to recap a little bit of our conversation with Raw yesterday. Apparently, some of you are upset. Some of you are still disgruntled. Some of you are ticked off with Ra's responses, specifically about maybe just his job security or how calm he is in this situation. We've lost 4 in a row. We're going to talk about that in a second. Hawks, though, are winning without Trae Young. And they did it again last night, Mike. And look, I don't want to make this a thing, but I already think it's a thing because Trae didn't get his extension, and we know his long-term viability here is still kind of up in the air. If this team's able to roll off, and they're back-to-back tonight, so they're playing Utah, but if they're able to roll off away, let's say they're 5, 6, 7 games above 500 when Trae comes back, and he may be out, by the way, 2 months. I know you guys don't realize it. It could be December, maybe even early January before we see Trae. I don't know what the timetable is, but Mike, if that happens, does it make this decision a lot easier?
It's going to be interesting because right now, and this happens every time Trae has an extended leave with, for an injury, where people, and it's mostly, you have to kind of declare yourself. Are you now, or you ever been a Trae hater? Because if you are a Trae hater, you go, there you go. There you go. Well, again, there's 82, and no disrespect to the West Coast swing, but, they mail it in a lot in the regular season, okay? So you got to, bear in mind, you get to the playoffs, you think a team without Trae Young is better, in a best of 5? No, or best of 7? I mean, just no way, Jose. So we need Trae. Right now, though, it's good to see the other role players coming together. Ideally, we'd all be coming together and getting synergy and everything be rolling. And then we see how we augment this roster at the trade deadline after the All-Star break. But right now, at least it is good to see, Jalen Johnson and Vit Krejci and some of the other guys emerging. And last night it was finally getting in the mix. We had 7 guys in double digits, and that's great. But you're not a better team without Trae.
Yeah, I don't disagree, man. I think people sometimes, it's like one of those things. Are you better without her? It might feel that way for a couple of days, but at the end of the day, she was cooking. She was taking care of you. It's not better without her. So I'm with you, man. I agree. I think we're a better team with Trae. Day, real quick, man. Hawks, what do you think? And by the way, I think this gives Jalen and Rishache, all these guys a chance to kind of just get going. They don't have to wait for Trae to get them involved, right? Go do your thing. Let's go win games.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest takeaway from what we're seeing right now, and hopefully they can kind of continue with, to have some of this momentum. They got a couple of tough games in there. They've got the Spurs coming up. But, after Utah, you got Phoenix. You do have Detroit. Then you got Pelicans and Charlotte and the Wizards. So for the most part, this next 5 games or so, it's a pretty reasonable stretch for them to continue to do what they're doing, in my opinion, in terms of playing well without Trae. And I think what's important is that's what we're seeing, because that was the biggest question. When Trae's not on the court for whatever reason, how well is this team going to be able to sustain themselves, while he's on the bench for however minutes that would be? And so we're seeing that full games, these guys have been able to manage. You're seeing Jalen Johnson. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but his assist numbers, he's kind of been the facilitator of this offense down this stretch here. I think he had 8 assists last night. So that was the biggest question. Who's going to be kind of the facilitator when Trae Young is on the court? Because we really don't have a true backup point guard. And so I think what we're seeing right now is just a good telltale of, even when Trae comes back, as far as him being involved fully, but when he's on the bench for minutes or whatever, this team can still pick up some, keep their momentum.
Real quick, I'll just add this real quick because it's a great point, Day. And by the way, Big O is not with this. He'll be on the show today as we're live from Joe's Sports Grill up in Alpharetta. to your point, I mean, we got a guy in Jalen who can handle the ball somewhat. He's not Trae, but he can handle the ball and assist. I'll say this. It's regular season. If this was the playoffs, I'd blitz Jalen and get the ball out of his hands and make other guys guys make plays. It's not the playoffs. So that is a reason why Mike and I are like, slow your roll with this Trae thing. The reason why you have these guys is if teams want to do that to Trae, it makes our offense easier. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But if you take Trae out of the mix, I'm running all kind of guys at Jalen Johnson.
Yep. Right.
And that's why I'm getting the ball out of his hands. So it's a different animal, man.
They moved on from Cody Buffkin, and that's why you and I were talking about. I'd love to get a guy like a Chris Paul in here, especially for not now, but for the playoffs. That's when you need that kind of, when you get Trae off the floor. But 16 assists though in the last 2 games, nothing to sneeze at for Jalen Johnson.
No, he's legit. Hey, before we get to Kirby, who I feel like is taking this game, and this is going to sound silly, but he understands the magnitude of this game. And so much so he brought a guy in that everybody now is wondering, is he going to join the staff? We're going to tell you about that in a second. Dede, lay out what people are saying about our interview yesterday with Ra. What is the problem with people and Raheem right now in his responses to us, specifically yesterday in our interview? What's the deal?
Well, first off, it starts with Darnell Mooney and him revealing the fact that he did indeed suffer a broken collarbone at the start of training camp. The injury you all were standing right there and witnessed. And a lot of people felt like, oh my God, here we go again. We just went through this with Kurt and not knowing what was really going on, and now here we are again. You guys haven't been telling us what's really been going on with Darnell Mooney. But I think even more so, people are upset about how calm he seems to be, especially Mike, when you asked him, like, hey man, like, usually if it was, you told him if it was you'd be running around like a chicken with his head cut off in terms of them sitting at 3-6, and this is supposed to be a team that's supposed to be, competing for playoffs. And so I think people felt like, him saying, look, there's Sully, you got to land the plane on the Hudson, and people didn't like it. People think it was just too lackadaisical of a response for a team that's sitting where they're at 3-6.
But as Carl tried last week, and I tried a week before this, that's not how he's wired. I mean, look, if you want him to sit there, I joked around like the Kane Mutiny with Carl and Humphrey Bogart. Yes, we must win. They're all against me. They're making mistakes. It's not me. Go full Richard Nixon. You won't have Raheem Morris to kick around anymore. He's not going to do that. I mean, he's just now again. If Arthur Blank told him, "I'm with you, Raheem. Let's get this thing turned around," and maybe that's where he's getting his inner coolness and how he just doesn't get rattled by this stuff. But no, I get it. Fans want the coaching staff and players to feel like they do, and they're never going to do that. So other than Michael Penix Jr., who looked and sounded like the way we all felt after the game Sunday in Berlin. But look, I get it. Look, Raheem he runs his show how he runs his show. It does seem to rub a lot of people the wrong way who want a sense of urgency that you just didn't get in our interview, for lack of a better word.
So here's the difference on some of y'all, being upset with the revelation of the broken collarbone. Darnell Mooney has never come out this entire time and said, I didn't forget how to play wide receiver. That's what Kirk Cousins did. Right. And in saying that, he was telling us, oh, that was a false report. I'm really not injured. I'm okay. It's fine. But that's not what we now know. Darnell has not said a damn thing. So Coach reveals this because they were trying to keep that information away from opposing teams.
Right.
I'm not mad at him. I'm actually broke the news on our show. I'm glad about that. But he did that because he was trying to get everybody to understand why Mooney and Michael Penix are not on the same page. Here's why. This dude has not been practicing. So I can't be mad about that. What I can tell you, though, to Mike's point about Coach's attitude and his demeanor is if he came in just 1 week, slammed his hand on the desk, said we're not going to take this shit. I'm not standing for it. I'm upset like you are. It would get a bigger response and more support from Falcon fans because that is truly how we're feeling. Right. But his fear is if he does that, who's he going to annihilate in that locker room?
Correct.
Everybody gets handled differently, guys. Just keeping it 200 with you. So how he treats Michael Penix is certainly not how he treats Jesse Bates or, for that matter, Jalen Walker. They deal with all these guys differently. And I just feel like even though I'm with Mike and I don't like it, that's why I tried to press him last week on it. Like, this is who you are. My whole thing was, Mike, I said to him, why were you not screaming when we missed the field goal last week?
Right.
I'm screaming at the TV. We kicked the extra point against New England.
Right.
It's a tie game. We've got a chance in overtime. I'm losing my mind. You didn't say a damn thing. Why are you not screaming? And he said, what is that setup? I'm not going to do it. And he said the same thing to you yesterday.
Yep.
So this is who he is. But understand, guys, he's going to win this way or he's going to lose this way.
Right.
And if he loses this way, then all the things you guys are saying is going to get resolved regardless.
Some would say, Day-Day, the way he's handled himself, it's almost like Nero's fiddling while this Falcons and Rome season is burning. You know, I mean, it's like, let's go. But, as Carl said, that's just the way he rolls. I asked him, I said, you have to be disappointed the way Kyle Pitts handled his business. And he kind of agreed with that. So there's one guy he called out. I mean, I get on Zach Robinson. I don't like the play calling. Zach dials up a perfect play. Penix sets his feet, executes it, throws a perfect pass to Pitts, who maybe scores an opening touchdown after we stop them on 4th down. Think of the huge momentum shift, pressure on Daniel Jones, and, of course, Kyle Pitts drops it. That's not on the coaching staff. And then we talked yesterday at length about all the things that, how does Michael Penix Jr. get helped in his time right now of struggle? Do we have the brain power in this building? Are we going to just keep doing the same stuff? And the only reason they have Carl is, well, guys make mistakes. If we don't make mistakes, then we got this. All right. Good luck with that.
I'm with you, Mike. I don't buy that. Guys, we're going to dive in today deeper, but more importantly, Zach Robinson said some interesting things yesterday that we did not have a chance to address, and we're going to address them today starting at 2 o'clock. It's something you're going to want to make sure you're there for. Before we get out of here, guys, again, it's the Behind the Curtain show. We do it every day. We call it our pre show because we just chop some things up. Some of this stuff we get to on the show, some of it we don't. Appreciate you guys being here, however you're accessing it. Kirby Smart, Dogs, Texas. Mikey brings in Billy Napier, I guess, for a fresh set of eyes, because when Napier was the coach of Florida, they did defeat the Texas Longhorns this year. As a matter of fact, it was a beatdown. They sacked Arch 6 times. It was an ugly game. And the offense, Texas's offense, struggled. What's Kirby doing here, man? What's he doing with Billy Napier?
Well, don't forget, all these guys at one time or another were all together, like in bunk beds at Nick Saban's house, right? These guys all worked and coached together. So I will say this: after they lost to Florida, Texas goes up on a 4-game win streak. So it is. I'm not saying it seems like it was a month ago, but it was basically a month ago. And Sark has made some adjustments. So, but still, there are some tendencies that maybe Napier sees that Georgia can exploit. It always feels like it's going to be a higher scoring game when these two get together. But Arch Manning has moved and improved and has handled the pressure since the start. Texas defense is still good. You saw what they did at Ohio State. I think at the end of the day, man, this still comes down to, is Sark going to hold his water? Because and I hate to be that cliche, Carl, but Sark, and you follow Texas, is Sark going to be able to handle the big pressure decisions and moments when they come at him on the road in Athens on Saturday night? And I don't think he can.
Yeah, it's the close game, situational football stuff. This is not if it's a blowout. Texas blows somebody out, you're not making those decisions. If you're getting blown out, like they were down 17 against Miss State, we got to throw the ball. We got to get back in the game. And then his quarterback took over, and Arch looked like a baller, right? We're talking about Texas down 3, ball in their hands, 2 minutes to play. What are the calls Sark makes? How does he handle his timeouts? That's the stuff that concerns me. Right. He hasn't had to deal with that for the most part. And like in a close game, I think the spread is 6 or 7, something where like that. So we're talking about a touchdown for Georgia.
Yeah, it was 5.5 yesterday, I believe, at one point yesterday.
And Mike, that's the stuff I'm concerned about. Or Georgia has the ball, less than 2 minutes to play. They're going down to score. How does he handle that drive compared to, how do we get the ball back, or do I let them score? Like those situational things, that's what I'm concerned about. But hopefully we get a good game, man. I'm with you on Billy Napier. And by the way, Napier's going to land on his feet. He got $21 million to go away. It's not $78 million, Jimbo, but it's a lot of money. And he'll land on his feet somewhere as an assistant, and maybe he'll get another head coaching job. It's just the thing about this is, Mike, you look at those recruiting classes and you start to say, man, Florida's got a lot of talent, and just why couldn't they put it together? It's weird. Well,
that's why, Napier, don't forget, guys, there are a lot of alum or boosters that weren't exactly, excited about the hire. Some folks were lukewarm. So he was always seemed to be seemingly on thin ice. The quarterback situation, missing, thinking they had some big-time quarterbacks coming in, and then it didn't. And then Lagway ultimately buys him time, puts together a nice little run at the end last season, which, for some Florida Gator fans, like that's whistling past the graveyard. They still didn't think he was the guy. Right. And so that's the kind of where it went this year. Just tough times right now because there's so many openings in the college game. Don't know if they're locked on, a guy like Lane Kiffin, but LSU, Penn, and then is Penn State the second best job, and then it's Florida. Curious how they go, and everybody, as far as the big money people, are all going to be on the same page with this hire. But I think Billy's a good coach, but maybe the lights are too bright for him in Gainesville. And anytime things go south, it's like what happened with Freeze. He ain't recruiting enough. That's always the storyline.
Yeah. If the Dogs have a similar defensive day or night against Texas, credit Billy Napier because there's no doubt he's sharing whatever the hell they did against Arch Manning and that Texas offense. Here's the deal in that game, though. I will say this: Texas offensive line was banged up. Matter of fact, the next week they made changes. They played better, but I think this is as healthy as that line has been. So it won't be similar as Florida was able to get after him the way they did. But maybe Georgia dominates him up front. We'll get into it today, man, on the show. 2:00. Make sure you join us. Come on out if you can. Joe's Sports Grill and Alpharetta.
And quick, Carl, Mike, one nugget. Sarkisian is 13-4 after a bye week.
That's good.
Extra practice time.
So,
okay.
That's
He's
good.
also 0-2 against Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's not just 0-2. It's 0-2 in Austin, right, where you were supposed to get them. And then in the SEC championship game where you were supposed to get revenge.
And you knocked the quarterback, Carson Beck, out of the game.
It's the situation. And let's not forget, they were number 1 to start the season. Yeah. This team is supposed to be really good. They've just not played up their potential, and that gets back to coaching.
They showed some mental toughness, though. Good Mississippi State game, Carl talked about the grind against Vanderbilt. These are some tough games. Typical SEC. Texas, no shit, Sherlock. SEC is a grind every single week, but having 2 weeks to prepare, as Day points out. But then he may be prepared, but then there's going to be that decision, that crucial 4th down. How does he handle those moments? That's what Longhorn fans are waiting to see.
Well, and what about Arch? Is there any pressure on him because he walked away from Georgia? You know what I mean? Like,
did we really think Arch Manning was coming to Georgia?
Yes, he was. And you know what? I know we're up against it. I'll tell you today.
Okay, tell today on the show.
I will tell you today.
That's a radio show I'd listen to.
I hope so. It's not one.
I want to check that out.
I hope so. Yeah. I'll tell you today. This close to coming to Georgia. I'll tell you why. All right, we'll get into it. We'll be on it too, man. Make sure you're there, and we'll talk more Ra and Zach Robinson and all that stuff, man. Make sure you're here. It's Dukes and Bell. Take care.